Hello again. I recently developed a whole new workflow for making 2D skyboxes and cube maps through Blender. If you don't count the render time of Blender, the whole thing takes literally less than 3 minutes. The only things you need are my prefab, Blender, Python, FFMPEG, VTex, and MareTF. If you've never heard of MareTF before, imagine a love child of VTF-Edit and VTex and then make it 20% cooler. So how about we get started? I'm not gonna hold your hands for installing the tools, cause if you got this far, you oughta know how to download stuff. But I'll give you the most important notes. Download the latest release of my prefab and MareTF from their respective GitHub pages. For Blender, you want at least version 4.2.1. Python must be 3.8 or newer, and when it installs, it'll ask you to add Python to the system variables or path. Tick that box when it shows up. FFmpeg must be installed to the user path just like Python. The easiest way to install FFmpeg is through the command prompt by writing winget install FFmpeg. And lastly, VTex is shipped with the game's SDK or authoring tools, so you already have it. One last thing, if you haven't already, go and get Hammer++ and Tools++. And if you're mapping for Left 4 Dead 2, allow me to shamelessly plug my own FGD edits to make Left 4 Dead mapping a little bit easier. I'll make a whole video about that soon, but that's another day. Now once everything is installed, you need to right-click my Python scripts and open them in Notepad++. At the very top you can see it asks for MareTF, the game exe and the game info location. So just copy-paste the paths that you have into the script. And in the Skybox script you can also set a global setting on whether you want to always delete the bottom of the skybox or not. The skybox's bottom is usually only seen if your map consists of floating stuff, like sky islands or space. Now, let's open up my prefab. Load my UI if you for some reason don't allow Blender to open UIs. In the outliner you can see some donor meshes. Those are where you would import your skybox texture that you want to port. The rectangle shape would be this kind of env-map. There's one for separate textures, for when you make an env-map photo in Garry's Mod using the env-map camera add-on. Or maybe you download a texture that just looks like that. The one just called T is for skyboxes that look like this here, like a T. You could also disregard all of these and make up your own sky dome and a floor and whatever else you want. Just keep in mind that the 2D skybox should really just be a relatively flat texture. Any 3D objects should preferably be in the 3D skybox, since the 3D skybox would allow proper parallaxing, which 2D skyboxes cannot do. I myself am going to use the rectangle shape, so click on the donor mesh of your choice and load a different texture through the node editor. On my map, I want the sun to be on the left. Here's a little tip. You can put Blender's 3D cursor right onto where your sun is on the texture. If you press num7, it'll show the Blender world from above. This alignment here is the same as in Hammer's top-down 2D view. Put your mouse cursor onto that crosshair. Press R and rotate until your mouse is at the desired location. And now we handle the camera meshes. If you want to make a cube map, enable the cube map mesh for the render. If you want a skybox, pick either of the skybox meshes. Since I don't want a floor, I will pick the bottomless version for my render. Down in the material nodes, you can pick the skybox and cube map resolution. For cube maps, pick any of the env textures, and for skybox, the ones named sky. I want to have a skybox where every face is 1024p, so I will use Sky 1024. Make sure this box here is set to generated because it loves to reset itself after each render pass. Now a quick check. Make sure that your donor mesh and your camera mesh are the only entities selected for render. Then click on your camera mesh so it's actively selected. Then head over to the Render tab and check your render settings. Stuff like CPU or GPU rendering, how many threads you want, and so on. All that's left now is pressing the Bake button, sitting back and waiting for it to render. It'll take maybe a minute or two depending on your size and render settings. Once the render is finished, head over to the image editor and click on Image, Save As. The name you choose for the export will also be the name of the finished skybox or cube map. Save it as a BMP. Anything else will not work as the scripts demand it. After saving the image, you can drag the BMP onto HDRShop. We only really need it to save it as a PFM file, but you can also change the gamma if you want. But keep in mind, the gamma modification will only be applied to the HDR skybox. People playing on LDR will not see the skybox gamma change. I'm just gonna scoot it a little bit to the right and then save it as a portable float map, PFM. And now the magic happens. Run either of the Python scripts. Then drag either the BMP or the PFM onto this console box and press Enter. This script will automatically do all the required steps. Splitting faces, convert to VTF, delete unused files. Once the script is finished, all you are left with is a completely finished skybox or cube map texture in the final output folder. Now you can just copy these files into your game or add-on folder. Now about applying the skybox texture in Hammer. All you need to do is go to the Map Properties window and set your sky texture name to sky_your_name_HDR. Basically everything but the up, down, left, right angles. And now you're done. If you haven't already, check out my guide on making 3D skyboxes. Don't forget to like this video if you learned something and subscribe if you want to learn more. I recently set up a Ko-fi page and I'd appreciate it if you'd give me a tip if you consider this automation to be worth anything. If you need help with this, or modding in general, join the Dead for Mods Discord server. There's modding and mapping channels in which you can ask questions. I also have a private Discord server, but you're less likely to get help there because I focus my support on Dead for Mods. Now this video has been long enough as it is. See you guys next time. Take care. Bye.